Welcome to Learned in Go-Go, the podcast. Hey, my name is Sydnee A. I am your host, and I am also the author of Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Go-Go, How a Preacher's Daughter Pole Danced Her Way to Finding Her True Self. You can get your copy of my book at learnedingogo.com, available on paperback and ebook. So, man, I feel like it's been a minute since I've been doing the podcast. It's only been a couple weeks, but it's been a jam-packed couple of weeks, and in a good way. I mean, I do have like a lot of adulting things I've been doing, which aren't as fun, but there's been a lot of fun stuff too. Speaking of adulting, that's, like Frankie and I have not been able to sync our schedules. That's why it's just me again. I'm hoping to be back next week with Frankie too, because it's more fun when we can talk together. And I definitely want to recap the Great Media Comic-Con, and I want him to be a part of that. And I would love to get a few more people from that weekend on here too to talk about it, because it was an amazing experience. Like, without giving spoilers away, just met so many awesome people, and I'm just so grateful for the opportunity, and to Leah, to Mark, to Kelly, to Sheik, to the whole team. Like, everyone was just super duper cool. So that's all I'm going to say about that for now. But hopefully in a soon to come upcoming episode, maybe I can get my new friend Pikachu on here too. We'll have to see. Interesting stories from the weekend. But I was thinking earlier, and I was actually considering doing like a separate recording that's just like, the insides of Sid's brain, like the things that just pop into my head sometimes when I'm doing, like boring tasks. But I thought maybe I could work it into this week's podcast. So the other day I was doing laundry, we all got to do it. And what I do with the sheets when we have like sets of sheets is I fold, the sheets, I fold the pillowcase, and then I put everything in one of the pillowcases. So like we don't have a linen closet. So where I store them, it's easier to keep it all together in a pillowcase. Then I grab it and I have the fitted sheet, the flat sheet, both pillowcases, it's all together. And I was like, where did I pick this up from? Like, where did I first hear about doing this? And then I was thinking about how back in the day, all of us would learn these kinds of tips and tricks, or, like life hacks from either our family or people that lived nearby. Like the one story that I remember is, I don't, again, don't know where I heard it, don't know where I picked it up, but there was a woman that was making dinner, and she was making a pot roast for dinner. And she cut it into two pieces and put it in the pan, in two different pans to put it in the oven. And her husband's like, why are you doing this? She said, this is the way that I've always done it. That's the way my mom did it. So that's how we cook the pot roast. So his mother-in-law comes over and he asks her about, well, why did you teach her to make pot roast, like cut in half in two pans? And she's like, well, that's the way that my mother did it. So that's the way that I learned how to do it. So they finally reach out to the wife's grandmother and ask, well, why do you cut the pot roast into two pieces and dirty up two pans to make one roast? And she said, the big pan wouldn't fit in my oven. So I had to cut it into two pieces so I could fit it into my oven to cook it. And so all that to say, what got passed down wasn't logical they could have made it in one big roast, So what kind of things are we picking up along the way that, might serve other people but don't serve us? And that got me thinking even further, because this is the way my brain works, about how nowadays our village that teaches us things is worldwide. Like we have access through the internet, through social media. For a while there it was Pinterest, now TikTok, showing all kinds of life hacks and ways to do things. And some of them are really valuable. Others are not. I'm looking at you, Tide Pod Challenge. So I'm curious if in the comments or whatever, you can share some of your favorite life hacks. Maybe that'll be my assignment this week. We'll do the assignment early and just share like something that you learned along the way. And it could be from your mom or it could be from Pinterest that is something that has made your life better or easier or, just something like that. So I was just thinking about that this week. It has nothing to do with nothing, but just an interesting thing of how we are now all part of a global village when we used to be, you wouldn't see somebody that was 50 miles away because that was like another planet, hundreds of years ago. So I just thought that might be kind of a cool thing that we could all do to share with each other in the comments or, in the show notes, well, under the show notes in the comments. And another one that I learned that just popped into my head is if you're using cooking spray on like a cookie sheet and your dishwasher is dirty. So first you have to have a dishwasher. Second, it has to be dirty. So what I do is I open the dishwasher door and I spray it like towards the inside of the dishwasher. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my little, I'm acting it out for you. But that way, if there's any overspray, it goes into the dishwasher and not on the floor where if you have hardwood floor or linoleum, it makes it slippery and then you fall on your ass or it just makes it dirty, So that was another life hack that I use all the time. And it's just one of those silly little things that, can just make your life a little bit easier. I know I have so many more and I'm blanking right now. But like I said, please share. That's your assignment for this week. But yeah, I've been super duper busy. So that's really cool because right after Comic-Con, I went down to my husband's family's for a visit, and that was a lot of fun. We went to the state park in Delaware with the wild horses, and I swear they knew we were coming and they all hid. Like we couldn't find them for the longest. And then when we did, they were so cute. They were like in a parking lot, and you're not supposed to get, I think, within like 60 feet, the sign says. And I mean, that's more than likely the way that I'm going to die is petting a cute animal that I shouldn't. Like, they're just so cute. And I didn't get near them. But the one was obviously preggers. And then there were a few more. And they're just so beautiful. Like, you need to take the time to appreciate the beauty that's around you. I don't think that we take the time to do that. And especially now that spring's here, it's getting nicer out. Even if you just go for a walk around the block, like so many people have beautiful flowers out front. There's just a lot to take in, the birds, stuff like that. And it's good for your soul. Kind of gives you like a reboot, when you go out and you get some fresh air and see some of the beauty that's around us. So take some time to do that in this next week. It might be very helpful. And on top of that, I just wanted to say I did do a stripper cinema this week. So that is brought to you by Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Go-Go, written by me. And you can get your copy at learnedingogo.com. I also have a link tree, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. And in the link tree is where you can find my social media. I do a positive affirmation every morning, and that's on my Instagram and on my Sydnee page. I also have an email mailing list you can sign up for. I apologize, I have not sent an email in a while, but I like to think that's, holding up my end of the bargain, that I will not spam you. So I have certainly not been a spammer because I haven't had the time to write out an email lately, but I will. And that'll keep you in the loop of if I do a book signing, which I am dying to do. If anybody knows anyone that would be interested or can point me in the right direction, I would very much appreciate that. Or, like any other news going on with the podcast, with the book. So that would be awesome if you could sign up. And as always, if you could rate, review, that kind of stuff, I appreciate that too. I was listening back on my episodes of the podcast earlier, and I was like, you know what? I don't really plug myself that much. Like when Frankie's here, he does, but in the episodes, it's just me. I forget to do that. And it's kind of typical for a lot of us that we get kind of uncomfortable about shouting our accolades, like follow me, do this, do that, like sometimes we get shy about that. So I hope you don't mind that I just took a moment there to kind of be like, hey, check me out, because I don't really do that enough, I don't think, especially when I am trying to get into more earbuds and into more speakers and into more Kindles, or if you need a beach read this summer, get my book. It's really funny, and it has some good lessons in it too. So yes. So anyway, on to Stripper Cinema. All right. So I got the trailer, and I'm gonna warn y'all, because if you're watching this on YouTube, there's boobies. There will be boobies in the trailer. And this trailer's, it's one of the longer ones. It's over 2 minutes, but it really captures the vibe of this film. So I definitely think it's worth listening to the whole thing. And I'm just gonna bring up the information so I can tell you guys, like I like to say, the director and written by and all that. So I didn't write that down. I just got that for you now. See, this is what happens when I do this myself. Sometimes I'm not as prepared as I think I am. But yeah, so let's check out Fear City from 1984.
New York City. Open 24 hours. Here, pleasure is business. The night belongs to the girls. But the girls belong to Matt Rossi.
The Bijou, rebook Bijou at 14. You want to work the Metropole Saturday and Sunday night?
Yeah.
Honey.
Honey works at Mike's 9 to 1, Friday and Sunday.
Layla. Ruby. Loretta.
Is she really worth it?
Yeah, she's really worth it.
Everyone is watching them. Someone is waiting for them. Now, everyone in New York is living in Fear City.
Getting your rocks off and homicide out. You want to tell me about the little girl who got hurt last night? The one that works for you.
What are we gonna do, Matt?
What can we do?
This.
I'd say somebody's got it out for you. You want to talk about it? I want to know if you're involved in any of this.
I'm not your enemy, Matt. Somebody out there is.
At last, the law and Matt Rossi have something in common.
City full of suspects.
Tonight, no one sleeps in Fear City. Tom Berenger is outside the law. Billy D. Williams is the law.
You're the only thing between that bastard and innocent people.
These are the girls. Melanie Griffith, Ray Dawn Chong, Ola Ray, and Maria Conchita Alonso. Now a fighter.
You can blow the son of a bitch's head right off.
Must think like a killer and make his stand in the streets of Fear City.
Okay, there was a lot to unpack there. So when my friend first described it to me and she was like, "Well, I don't know if it really counts for stripper cinema because there's no poles in the club." That doesn't matter. There were no poles in From Dusk Till Dawn. There are clubs that don't have poles. It's not as popular, but it does happen. So I'm not giving any points off for no poles. No poles means no one's licking poles because that's just fucking gross. As you heard in the trailer, the cast, there's a lot of really well-known people in it. Melanie Griffith plays Loretta, who is the club star, because in every movie there's a club star. And in her case, though, Loretta not only gets to be on the marquee outside, in cardboard cutouts, in posters, she's all over the club. She also gets her own auditorium. Now, when I first saw it, it gave me Rocky Horror Picture Show vibes. I was just picturing Frank singing, I'm coming home. Like I was definitely like that kind of vibe. And then there was another scene where she's dancing. I'm air quoting. And she's on a circular stage. Again, has an entire room to herself. No other girls are in there. So it's the Loretta room, I guess. The Loretta lounge, maybe. But she's on stage in a G-string, nothing else, barefoot, essentially doing yoga. And the guys are going insane. And I thought, damn, I worked too hard, man, back in the day. I wish I could have just like rolled around doing barefoot yoga and gotten tons of money. But I guess I wasn't in Fear City. So if you were watching the trailer, you may have seen some other familiar faces. Rae-Dawn Chong is the daughter of Tommy Chong. Beautiful. And she does a great job in this movie. She plays Layla. And then Maria Conchita Alonso is actually in the credits without the Alonso. So that's how long ago this was. But the girl that plays Honey, I knew immediately because she plays Michael Jackson's girlfriend in the Thriller video. And I had never seen her in anything else. So it was kind of fun to see her in another role. But basically, the basis of the movie is Maddie, who he and his partner, whose name just flew out of my head, they run the club and they get the girls that work in the club. So Maddie was a boxer. They keep doing flashbacks to 1977, where he was in the ring and winning and wanted the ref to call the fight, but the ref wouldn't. And he wound up accidentally killing his opponent. So the killer is getting revenge for the guy that got killed, even though it wasn't Maddie's fault. He wanted them to stop the fight, So he's going after Maddie's girls for revenge. Now, this guy was training in martial arts, but it was like flappy hands all over. It was it was like remember the penguins in Madagascar that were like, you didn't see this, and they'd get their little fins up and be like, whoa, like that's what it kind of reminded me of. But I'm giving them credit for a variety of kills. Like I don't think he used the same weapon twice. So, like points for creative kills, because if you're a horror movie fan, you don't want everybody to get killed the same way. Like it makes it more interesting. There was a lot of gore, and I'm a gore fan, so I'm giving it credit for that as well. And trying to look at my notes here, because since it's an 80s movie, everybody's smoking all the time, like cigarettes everywhere. Even I think even in the hospital, people were smoking. Oh, I didn't make a note about that. So when the one character's dying, right, it was Layla. So the doctor is giving her CPR on the mattress, like that would never happen. And of course she's topless. like boobies flapping all over because he's doing chest compressions, and he's going, "Come on, baby. Come on, baby." I'm like, what doctor would ever be like, "Come on, baby," doing CPR to a patient? Like, that's completely inappropriate. But then, like, after about 14 and a half seconds of chest compressions, he says to the nurse, "Forget it," and walks away while Layla flatlines. I'm like, forget it. I don't want to go to that hospital. Fear City Hospital is not the place. Yeah, that just popped back into my head. But, like those kinds of things were really funny. This is definitely like for when you want some entertainment that's not going to make you use any brain cells. You just want to have a good time and just like laugh at a silly movie. But yeah, overall, I really did enjoy it. There was so many people in it. And of course it's kind of like shocking when, you see movies where things that happened back then you could never get away with now, like the slurs that they called each other, like, and I mean it was across the board. Like every character was like they just insulted everybody. And I sat there thinking they could not say that today, like not in a million trillion years. But yeah, overall, I definitely enjoyed this movie. I don't think I said the background. Okay, so yeah, it's directed by Abel Ferrara. It was written by Nicholas St. John, produced by Bruce Cohen Curtis. It was released July 18th in 1984 in France. Oh, and February 16th, 1985 in the US. So that's interesting that it was released in France first. I wonder why. Yeah, language English. Interesting. I wonder why they did that. But the budget was $4 million, which I find pretty funny. I wonder if that's in today money or 1980s money. So it was originally released on DVD in 2000. And then it's on Blu-ray. Why? Oh, there's a 97-minute uncut version. I wonder what was cut out. Very, very interesting. I watched it on Tubi for free. I love Tubi. Definitely recommend it. Free streaming service. It has commercials, but there's all kinds of entertainment on there. So I am going to give this movie, I'm going to give it 2 ratings. One is going to be for the stripper cinema qualification, and the other is going to be overall like a movie to watch recommendation. So for stripper cinema, I'm giving it, you know what? I'm going to give it 5 thongs because there's boobies all over the place. The first time you see topless women, there's still opening credits going on. Like they haven't even gotten through the credits yet, and there's boobs. So cheers for boobs, 5 thongs for that rating. Overall, as a movie, I give it 3.5 thongs because there's a lot of, like I said, big name people in it, and it was entertaining. Like it's not, a stellar, wonderful, amazing movie, but it is great for what it is. So I'm going to give it 3.5 thongs for that, 5 for the boobs. And yeah, so that is Fear City from 1984 in France, 85 in America. So cool. Well, it is getting to be about that time, kids, where I am going to wrap this up and say thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate all of you that are supporting me on this journey. I am hoping to be back very soon with some guests. If you have anyone that you would like me to reach out to, let's be realistic. Like, don't say like The Rock or anything, because that's not probably going to happen. But if you have questions, if you have topics that you would like me to cover, anything from growing up as a preacher's kid to dancing in gentlemen's clubs to mom advice, like whatever, reach out. I'm happy to talk about it. If you have any kind of ideas for places where I can do events, let me know. I am open to all of these suggestions and excited to do this. So please make sure that you go to my link tree. It's in the show notes, and you can buy my book. You can join my mailing list. You can follow me on social media, please. It is at Learned in GoGo on both Instagram and on Facebook. And I am very excited to see you guys again soon. In the meantime, remember, when life gives you troubles, make sure you take them on head on, because when you stick your head in the sand like an ostrich, you think you're hiding, but the rest of the world just sees a big ass. Love ya.